Hey everybody, good morning. It's Blitz and Rapid Chess here on lichess. International Master William Paschall, also known as Slaggy on Twitch. We're playing under my Sparkle Horse account here on lichess, the only one I have. Yesterday was a really brutal simul for me. I had a negative score in a 20-word simul. And I was just saying how, like, when I go to sleep in the evening after doing the simuls, I'm always, like, having a hard time falling asleep. I think somehow, like, playing multiple boards kind of really, like, stimulates something in my brain, and I can't really turn it off till well into the night. So, but I slept well in the morning. It's the second week in a row when I had trouble falling asleep after simul. Anyways, we are going to be playing 5+3 through 7+3. You can use an increment up to 5 seconds with a 5 and 6 move. Minute. Challenges if you want. 5+3, 5+4, 5+5, 6+3, 6+4, 6+5, 7+3. Those are the legitimate challenges you can expect me to accept here. Yeah, Arsenal fan, I guess, like, you just showed up a few minutes too late yesterday, or I don't know if you just, I noticed you in the chat, in the simul chat yesterday, and I'm sorry if anybody who's a subscriber who wanted to play didn't get to play, but it was bad enough yesterday. I didn't want any more strong players, but I think I'll change the time control to make it more favorable to me, and we can kind of play it by ear. But if I'm losing the simul, then the simul is probably too fast for me to play. Well, I just felt like I was having to play like random moves because of time pressure too much. So if it gets to that point, I probably need more time. All right, so we've got challenges here, quite a few for a Monday morning. It's pretty cool. That's actually let me go back. Let me just accept this guy's random chess 960 challenge. So Nefedov, Lord Jesus Christ, Troll on a Roll, Soltigo, and Clash Kid. We've got 1, 2, 3. 2 or 3 subscribers, and Nefedov is first. Usually Nefedov is not here for the weekday streams in the morning. Yeah, I would love to do a 60-61 too, but that's really long. Especially when I have a team game. I think 40-40 is possible, but I might make it a little different. All right, now Pavli yesterday I played the Schliemann is really annoying. I'm gonna have to play a different variation or something, because that one there isn't really much you can do other than play into this like mainline position that's kind of chaotic. I have to think of something more just like simple against the F5 Roy Lopez. I want to just play chess, not be forced into a narrow kind of path, you know, which seems to be happening in that variation. I'm playing against the Schliemann. What? I guess, oh, 60-60, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Kind of long. Now Nefedov is playing the Slav defense. I played E3. This is a very old variation played by world champion Aliakin. Popular in like the 50s, probably 50s and 60s. Then in the modern era, it hasn't really been very popular. I guess it's just not really aggressive enough for white to get an advantage. The last time I saw someone play this, I think I saw Portish Lajos play it in like his last tournament ever, back in 2011. Portish is like 80 now. He was probably, that would make him, yeah, I guess he was around 74 in that tournament in 2011, which isn't that old actually. Benko is like 90. I'm just thinking of those guys because the team I just played on played against this team that actually has Portish, and technically Portish and Benko are the top 2 boards for the team we played yesterday, but they never play. They're just on paper on the team. But I was looking at their birthdays, and I noticed that Benko is like 90 this year, which is pretty amazing. Nefedov found the move. Took him a while, though. If you don't play b5, I had a student who played bishop g4 here, but it's not as strong as b5. You really are supposed to try to hold on to this pawn, at least temporarily. Portish is an interesting player. I wish he was still active, but 780 now. A little difficult to play tournament games when you're over 80. I know that it's hard once you hit 39, I can assure you. Now b4 is the main line. The thing is, like, you can play all these knight moves, knight e2, knight b1, and my arrow key doesn't work because my mouse is weird. Knight a2, knight b1 are the main lines. It's also possible to play knight e2 apparently. Alyoshin chose knight a2 in a game, I remember. I'm going to just try to put some pressure on the b4 pawn and get this knight a square. I'm not sure about bishop b7. I don't really play this line. I just mess around with it. I mean, I've played it like in some blitz games. I never played it in a tournament game. I'm getting over my cold though, finally. I'm not 100%, I'm like 90% better. Clash Kid says I don't like this line so much. I would rather go e6 or g6 than taking on c4. Well, yeah, they're different, you know, what can I say? The lines you're talking about, I guess, you know, you like to have the stability in the center with the Schlechter Slav or the semi-Slav. So I can understand that. Now what? Bishop e1. Or just knight to b1. I might as well, that's c1. I meant c1. Might as well get this piece back in the game here. Nefedov seems to be getting faster. Now, the funny thing is that Nefedov has played quite a few games with me, as you can see, almost 80. But was he always playing the Slav? Because I'm having trouble recalling that for some reason. What other defense did he play against d4? I can't seem to recall. I can't seem to recall any other defense. What the heck did he play besides the Slav? I mean, it seems like we should have like 20 games in the Slav if that was his main defense to d4. Maybe I've noticed one or two recently, but maybe I just didn't really think about it, A, or B, he changed and played something else before. I have a million games in the English, like knight f3, c5, a lot of Rolopez games with f5 or some. But for some reason, the Slav thing, not so many. I'm mainly playing e4 against him, and mainly knight f3 actually. this is the key in the Slav. I mean, to get in that c5 break is obviously very, very important. I have no advantage. Rook c1 might even be a mistake. Rook rook c1. I may need that pawn back there. Okay, if he plays bishop c6, I'm going back. And then I hate these symmetrical pawn structures, but I'm not sure that I can justify wrecking my pawn structure the other way. So it's just like equal. Borrowing some kind of tricky tactic with knight f5 or knight e6 or my a pawn falling. The only thing is that sometimes these pawns are quite dangerous. He's got the extended pawns on b4 that can give him some space advantage. It can also be a weakness. So I think that's always a question. But I guess this is why this variation is basically not played that often. It just doesn't offer too much to white. If black knows what they're doing, you usually get this kind of position. And structurally, there just isn't anything really left to play for. I mean, okay, looking at Tata yesterday, what occurred to me is that how are these games being decided? There were a number of decisive games in the GM, the Super GM tournament. But what were they? They're all cases of super grandmasters showing bad endgame technique and losing like drawing positions. It happened in like 3 occasions. And I mean, that's what could happen here. But what occurs to me in those, to change the subject a little bit, in those tournaments, I mean, first of all, chess time controls are destroying endgames. 50 years ago, people had enough time to play the endgame, but now it's like 90 minutes for 30 moves and sudden death in 30. 30 minutes is not enough time to play a good endgame. So maybe I can swindle Nefedov here in this equal position in the endgame, like in Tata, where strong players play badly in equal positions and lose. Hu Yifan losing another king and pawn endgame. She did that, I think it was last year or the year before, I don't remember. Not the first totally drawn. I think against Carlsen she had a totally drawn king and pawn endgame, like 2 years ago. Nefedov plays awfully strong. I've got nothing here. I'm just going to offer a draw. He's 1700. I've only won one in the last one of the last 14 games against him or something. No, 3. I've got nothing here. Look at the evaluation. Maybe black's better. We actually followed a game. Oh my god. That is insane. It's an actual game from like Slovakia or something. Well, I think the black player is Slovakian. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, black is 0.2 better. We're in a position that's actually been played before. That's insane. All right, so 1700 player, Nefedov, and that makes him like if he's 1700 on lichess, his FIDE should be around like 1550 or something. All right. Lord Jesus Christ, another weak player. 2300. No, he's actually, what's the 2300 about? That's the standard? That's classical? He's actually quite strong. He or she is actually a strong player I thought they were higher rated, but I guess the class. Why does it say 2300? By the way, you have like one rapid game or what? 1979 classical. I think also underrated is Lord Jesus Christ. Classical line. It's actually a game after 21 moves. But I mean, you know, it's hard to think of other ways I can develop my pieces in that position. I did all the standard moves, you know, bishop d2, bishop e1, knight a2 to c1 to b3. That's it, and then we've got this symmetrical pawn structure where black has a tiny bit more space. Basically, correctly played by both sides, but not too many options. So I was hoping that maybe Nefedov wouldn't know that line because not too many people play it, but he did. But I never did try that against the opponent in a tournament game. Maybe Nefedov isn't the right opponent. Like, it would be better to play it against like a 10-year-old who doesn't know, you know, opening theory from the 60s or something. Whereas like Nefedov is an older player, relatively speaking, you know, who probably has seen a lot of classic games. But a little kid or something who, you know, who didn't know games from before like 2000. Lord Jesus Christ just castled. That's actually a good move. I was recommending this the other day as an approach for black. d5 is maybe the most critical, but I noticed that some people take on c5. This is playable. You don't trust the center pawn loss analysis? Well, I don't trust the, you know, verbal analysis or whatever, you know. The center pawn is correct, but the, yeah, I mean, deciding whether moves are mistakes or inaccuracies or not is pretty shoddy. It's subjective and not accurate, basically. Okay, I remember seeing this now in the online opening explorer or whatever it's called. So I have 94. I have 94. I have 94 covered. I have 94 knight takes e4. Why am I saying I have 94? I guess I meant I have to deal with 94. I have to watch out for 94. I have 94 in answer to knight to e4. Well, I mean, the thing is, it also depends on your machine, you know, because I guess it's using your machine for analysis. So it depends. And how much time it decides to use. Sometimes it seems to do the analysis faster than others. It should actually, there should be like an option for how much time you want to let it analyze the game. That would be cool. Because you could let it go for like, you know, 15 minutes and get a really quality analysis. I remember like 20 years ago, we used to even still have adjournments at my chess club. And there were a couple of occasions where I actually had to analyze games to play, like, you know, a few days later or the following week or the next day or whatever. And you know, even the chess engines back then, and say, let's start, say 1996, just for argument's sake, in the mid to late 90s, even the chess engines then were relatively strong compared to amateur human players. But the computer wouldn't come up with anything good unless you let it run overnight, you know. And now it's kind of like, not overnight, it's give it 15 minutes and it will be pretty strong. And I think that Stockfish probably needs like 10 minutes or 15 minutes to analyze a game and really be pretty accurate about it. It gives me, and another thing is, like, it gives you dubious for like g6 on move 1 and stupid stuff like that. a5 though, I don't think I like that move for black. I mean, I guess it's not bad. It's not the most flexible, but he's playing a blockade type of strategy. Chess.com has that. Evil chess site. They also have lots of computers. You can basically count on having a computer present every game. So your opponent will be your guide. No, seriously. D6. Why does chess.com roast me out so much? All right. All right. Well, I guess I don't like playing the computers over there. So I also hate the interface of it. It's like awful. D6. Dark square blockade strategy. I do this in the black side of the Marazzi a lot. I'm just trying to think where to put my pieces. Connecting my rooks on the back rank. This looks like a logical move. Bot.com. There's a lot of poker sites like that too. All right. But anyway, the stream is good. I hope so. We do our best. But now that lichess has enabled there to be like tons and tons of streamers, I think I have to differentiate my stream from others. And the first thing to talk about is that I'm really focusing on, what am I focusing on in the stream? I'm really just trying to make it a very instructive stream. I'm not here to like show off my I like to show off, sure, like my knowledge and my skills, but the point is to try to improve, and not only for you guys, but for me. I want this to help me to be a better player. I think that I was actually hurt by not playing enough fast blitz. I'm constantly talking about, that you shouldn't play too fast. This is a nice move, wow. I mean, very subtle. He's thinking, or she, about queen h5. My mouse is now functioning. I can't always draw arrows with the right mouse button. Got to get another one. But it's still functional for most purposes. I played queen d2 in some instances to have queen g5 to trade queens on queen h5, and black here played h6. I mean, that's an extremely subtle move. Yesterday, Lord Jesus Christ played an unbelievable move in the opening against me. I thought a very, very subtle move as well. So Arsenal, you're so democratic, man. Bishop e6. Oh, so the other purpose was to stop knight g5 in the event of bishop e6. If I play h3, I weaken my king side big time. This rating is more like it. Make sure you guys challenge me to casual games. Not rated. Knight a4 simply trades, chases the queen to h5 where it's powerfully placed. Bishop e6 is a good move. I think it's a good move. Interesting maneuver here is knight e1, maybe. Maybe too slow, though. Knight e1, queen h5, knight e3, g5. And black could have some threats against my king, or induce me to play like f4 or something. I don't even know if this is a good move. I just realized black has knight to e4. Lord Jesus Christ. Another player seems too strong for the rating. Okay, 1979 is not bad. But I used to think that there was and I still think, and for the average players I play when I'm not streaming, I think that 1979 is way weaker than most players in my stream, who are usually more dedicated and quite quite strong. Rich, I don't want to, like, get into a political discussion, but you do have a queen. Not a traditional democratic setup. I know. It's just just for show. All right. Am I lost? I'm probably lost here. Lucky I'm not lost. But there's no way that somebody who's like 1900 should have almost 33% against me. Lord Jesus Christ. Way too strong for the rating. It's more like 2100, I would say, based on their results against me. Now okay, having said that, Lord Jesus Christ doesn't play perfect tactically, because this looks very strong. Knight e4, queen c1, queen takes c1, bishop takes c1, knight c3, rook d2, and white is in a very awkward kind of situation. I'd be surprised if I don't have to lose material somehow there. And knight b4 is not bad. Not bad as well. But the other line has to be even better, no? I could take on f6, I guess. I really hate to do that. But I don't have a lot of time left. Bishop d4. a3, they just take on d5. e4 doesn't do anything. I don't like my position and I'm running out of time. The House of Gore. Like in 1 minute. Well, 1 minute is 1 minute, man. It's extremely random. It's more about time than it's more about like mouse skills than anything else. But when I play randomly here, 1900s, I just win every single time almost. Whereas like Lord Jesus Christ has 30% against me. That would be unheard of amongst the players who I play, in random games here. I win virtually every single time against the normal 1900s. Okay, these are mostly simul games though, so we should put that in perspective. I'm usually at a big disadvantage, as I was yesterday. These are not blitz games or stuff, so that's a good point. Lord Jesus Christ hasn't played me much in blitz. We'll get my pawn back. It's a little better for white. Hopefully, maybe not. So much for getting my pawn back. I'm being kind of optimistic, but you can't go knight a2. You'll get your knight trapped over there. So it's probably a draw. Paschall or bishops equal material. White's a tiny bit more active, but black's king is very, very safe, and the only weakness is the b7 pawn, but I would imagine that there are ways to. Actually, with knight c6, I can't even get at it very easily. So I think I was lucky to even come out of this equal. If black had played knight e4, I thought I was lost at first. I got to be careful not to be worse here, it looks like. I'm okay. But black is okay too. It looks like equal to me. Let's see what the computer says. Yeah. Theoretically, I'm a tiny bit better, but I have no time left. I think black was nearly winning after knight e4. It's the first time I've ever played this position. I don't know. I looked at it with the opening explorer a few days ago. So a5 is a new move, apparently. I don't think it's bad. Apparently there is a problem, though. Bishop e3. That's funny. Bishop e3, I mean, it looks like you're just encouraging him to go over here, which would enable knight g4 and stuff like that. And white has h3, followed by g4 ideas. We need to give the computer more time to think. Maybe a5 is an accuracy. I play 2 routinely. Bishop e2, d6, queen d2, and then h6. I thought this was a good move. Preparing queen h5 maybe. And here I was talking about knight e1, and Stockfish thought about it for a second. Well, I thought this was really a blunder. Apparently I'm okay after knight e4. But bishop takes d5, sorry. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight e4. Thought I was in trouble here. I didn't see this move. So, apparently, knight takes f2. I'm winning a piece. Okay, the knight on c6 is hanging. Man, if I have to play queen c1 though, there I was in trouble. So I didn't see this. I can even go here actually. So knight e4 doesn't work. So I was never actually in trouble. At one point I was better here, but I was already really low on time, down to 25 seconds. Knight d4. Slightly better. That's why I don't take the rated challenges. I just get in too much time pressure while discussing the games and stuff. Human Man. Yeah, I mean, I take the subscribers first, but there aren't that many subscribers, so I can usually play other challengers. I've got some already. Human Man just challenged me, but it would have to be, yeah, okay. If you want to play correspondence chess, that's another thing. You know, we could play at some time, you know, a game like that. I've got Troll. We didn't play today. I'm getting the days mixed up. Usually Troll challenges me like first, and sometimes the days blend into each other, and I'm not like, did we play already today? Soltigo, Clash Kid, Arsenal Fan. These guys are all challengers. I'm gonna play Clash Kid and then Soltigo and Arsenal Fan. But my problem in tournaments has been getting in time pressure too. I got to stop it. I was telling my teammate yesterday. That's why I lost all these games in my last tournament, because every time it moved 35, I was like about to flag and like drop the pawn or something. I think the increment is starting to make me like addicted to it. So when there was no increment, losing on time was more frightening and more real. You know, you're like, you're going to lose on time, you're going to lose on time. There's no, you know, I didn't used to get into time pressure because I was scared of having, you know, no time left. Now having the increment has kind of made me, it started to make me, you know, play slower because I know that I've always got this increment to like use as a crutch. But I think that it's actually hurt me because I'm playing slower. I'm being, you know, under the impression all the time that I can just be in time pressure. It's okay to be in time pressure because I always have the 30-second increment in tournaments and the 3 to 5 second increment here. But it's not enough. I mean, I'm just making bad moves because I'm like panicking more often than not. And I'm not playing enough fast blitz, like 3 to 5 minute sudden death, which would be better for me. Yeah, I mean, Human Man challenged me to a he challenged me to a what am I supposed to say, correspondence game. Yeah, I don't play new accounts. Go and play like 100 games on the site, and then come back tomorrow. I've got a Blitz and classical. What am I saying? Blitz or classical rapid chess tournament tomorrow night here on lichess. 7 o'clock tomorrow night. I think we're gonna do. I haven't decided yet, actually. Maybe I should do like 5-0. That would be fun. We haven't done one of those in a while. A 5-0 tournament tomorrow night. Let's do that. I know some people want the. They want the longer time control and increment, but I'm going to do a 5-0 tomorrow, I think, for fun. Mubot says it's 5+2 casual, but don't believe Mubot. I change the time control every week. We've done 7+2, 5+2. I think we'll do 5-0 in honor of my like perpetual time pressure tomorrow. I thought I'd throw out this Queen B6 variation, which I played a little bit for a brief period, but then it became too trendy and everyone knew how to play with white. This was like 15 years ago, 10-15 years ago. Clash Kid played A3, stopping bishop B4. But it's still, the A3 is still relatively costly. He has connection problems, he said. Relatively costly move in terms of time. I don't like the fact that chess.com doesn't really catch and punish cheaters. You have to fill out a 5-page form to report someone. I mean, just that's enough to discourage me from doing it. I couldn't even find it. No, seriously, I've played like 10 games on that site ever. I'm not really interested. But I'm not here to bash other sites, whatever. I mean, if you like it, fine, good for you. I like lichess. It's the best chess site for playing humans on the internet. So we could play an extended fianchetto or fianchetto if you like on the queen side with b5. That's a good thing. Aldisto's not here. He's a player who likes to do b5. I mean, what I was always taught was in the Scheveningen, I mean, it's basically good to do b5 if you can, as opposed to like b6. Usually white restrains the queen side with like a4. So if you're given the opportunity to play b5 in a Scheveningen type of situation, this d6, e6 Sicilians, it's usually okay to do b5. Nefedov has to go. Okay, we'll see you later, man. If my pawn was back on b7 and he played a4, we'd have a very normal Scheveningen type of Sicilian. And b5 gives me a little more leverage. And it doesn't really have like very serious downsides, I think. Yes, I mean, theoretically white could sacrifice a piece on b5, but it's rare that that actually works. Now it's possible to play rook b8 or bishop b7, and I don't know which one I like better. But I guess playing like b4, supported by the rook on b8. The bishop on c8 also, I hate this mouse. I can't draw arrows with it anymore. The bishop on c8 defends e6. It doesn't always want to go to b7. Sometimes it's better just sitting on its original square. In this case, it's not blocking the rook. My rook is active from... Why can't I draw a diagonal line? There it is. Now knight d4. Now he's threatening me. Threatening me with knight takes c6 and e5. I allowed that in one of my simul games yesterday in a hedgehog. I dropped 2 pieces for a rook because I forgot that they could take on c6 or have some discovery with an undefended bishop on c6. So far you're 4-0 in rated games. You played 1,000 rated games in 2018, Arsenal fan? On lichess? You playing bullet chess, I assume? In 15 days, that'd be a lot of blitz games to play. Another strong player. This is kind of our, I think, our average customer here on the stream. I mean, it seems like most of the regulars on my stream are 2,000-ish strength players who, you know, may or not be actually rated 2,000, but that seems to be about the average. Mostly guys are around 1,900, 2,000. And then players like Nefedov who are 1,700 supposedly, but really like 2,100. Clash Kid is quite strong. He's like 2,000, but can play master strength at times. I guess we're all like that though. I can play like a 2,600 one game and like a 2,000 player the next. It just depends on what kind of day I'm having. Let's see. Very principled play by white though. The Scheveningen is kind of tough for me. I used to play it a lot. It was my main defense to e4, and then at some point I just got sick of getting attacked like brutally on the king side. So I stopped playing e4, c5, knight f3, e6, and d6, and I started to play other stuff. I played the accelerated dragon Sicilian, the Richter Rouser, or aka classical Sicilian, lines where white can't just checkmate you so easily on the king side. But this e6, d6 Sicilian, interesting comment from the famous Tatar master Nesmedinov. He was funny. He recommended in his book of his best games, he said, I recommend playing the Scheveningen for category 1 players, for which is like, you know, 2,200s. He recommends it for players who want to improve their defensive technique, you know, against like attacking play. So that tells you something right there. I mean, he basically says that this system is one where black has to defend really, really well. And therefore he recommends you play it to improve your defensive ability. These type of Sicilians with d6 and e6. Now I think I got the better of this deal. We've got a lot of simplification, but that should help me, you know, in general. White's attacking chances should be diminished. Knight e4 looks like it loses to queen f3. You can lose this position in one move. Knight d5 is okay, but it will give him the d file. He can even do queen f3 there. So I guess knight d7, even though it's the more passive square, might actually be superior. Putting pressure on the weak pawn on e5 and buying myself a little bit of time and not walking into like a pin or anything immediately bad. Unfortunately, b4, his rook is very useful attacking down a6. I could play bishop c5, trading another pair of pieces, but I'm not sure that's so good. Maybe I like this move, going to the file, preemptively going to the open file. I want to keep my f7 pawn protected. Well, Sheppy, technically, okay, it depends on when you play a6. Kasparov and Nikitin in their very important Scheveningen Sicilian book classified two kinds of Scheveningens. The classical Scheveningen and like the modern Scheveningen. One involves playing a6 and one involves not playing a6. Of course, like playing a very early a6 is going to be a Najdorf, but that was the classification that they used. I mean, basically, yeah, you're playing d6 and e6 and knight f6 and no a6 right away. No, yeah, it has to be a specific move order. d6, knight f6, e6, or e6, knight f6, d6. Those are the first three moves. But you can play a6 later, and it's still classified as Scheveningen. Okay, I don't know here. Wow, white is playing well. I'm not in love with it, but queen c7 just allows him to mess with my stuff. Knight c5 is possible. Bishop c5 would allow bishop h4, and that makes my last move look pretty stupid. Queen c4 is interesting. That would destroy my structure, though. I'm about to lose on time. Thing is, I'm at a dead end where I just don't see how to improve my position anymore, and that pisses me off. Maybe rook d8 was a bad move. I don't know. Alright. Maybe this is good. World Loser would have played that move. One of our regulars, World Loser, would have played this move like instantaneously. Heading for the obvious c4 square. I just don't like the fact that the move takes pressure off of the center temporarily. But we're heading for c4. I'll double attack the e5 and b2 pawns. And a3. Maybe it's a good move. I mostly tried Najdorf, but I have to just respond to what white does. I mean, white always has kind of control of the opening stage. Now here white now has problems with the queenside pawn chain and e5. If he had taken on b6, he ends up in a minor piece endgame where my bishop's a little stronger than the knight. I'm not sure if it might have been playable. I'm a little concerned about stuff like knight e4 and then knight f6, maybe some sacrifices where he'd have some threats. You know, but now I have knight takes e5, so that's not possible. As long as my knight is attacking e5, he can't go knight e4 without dropping a pawn. Can do bishop takes. Bishop takes d8 is interesting. It's actually a classic Najdorf, speaking of Najdorf maneuvers. I mean, I should be winning here. We've got our choice of pawns. Actually, there's no rush, but he also has knight c5. So that's a possibility. This is actually a bad move by me, I think. Yeah, because of this. I mean, I'm still better. Maybe I'm still winning. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a bad move. This is like a very straightforward pawn up, but a very good one because I have 4 against 2 pawns on the king side. My majority is really powerful. And I'll play f4 now. Well, if he lets me. King strong, everything very, very powerful here. Bishop d6 is good. All of his pawns now, these two, all 2 of them, on the wrong color. And that'll be fixed for my bishop to pick up later on. Man, it wasn't easy. I managed to win a game. All right, 2 draws and a win. I wonder about my move, that last move, that decision to go like bishop d8, and then here I was unsure. I played bishop e7 here, best move according to the engine, and then he played bishop d4. So apparently this was actually one of my best ways to play. Rather than trying to take the pawn right away, I wanted to play bishop e7 and keep his knight off of c5. All right. Guys, so I'm going to do, I think, 5-0 tomorrow for the 6:30 p.m. viewer tournament here on lichess. I'm hosting a viewer tournament. NM Sheppy. Sheppy, were you NM before? On here? Or is that something new? Because I don't remember. Okay, Soltigo and Arsenal fan are subscribers. You know, Epithetos could even be a subscriber. Guys, let me know if you're subscribers so I know to take your game first. I clicked on Soltigo's profile instead of his challenge. Sometimes there's people who subscribe and I don't even realize. You've been NM for a while, but you haven't been on my stream very often, you know, so I'm not sure, you know. Okay, maybe you were NM before, but I don't remember. All right, so Soltigo is a creative guy. G3. I'm really thirsty. I had pizza for breakfast. It's making me really, really thirsty. What do you think about pizza for breakfast, Soltigo? We learned that our moderator is actually a cook. I didn't know that. All right, I'm going to play e5. But I don't know that Epithetos was a subscriber. I said maybe it's possible. But if you want, you know, Arsenal fan, just let me know, and I'll play those guys first. Ayesta is also a subscriber. I'm so thirsty. You love breakfast pizza? My eyes are watering from this. This is like, you know, sparkling mineral water. The carbonation when you drink it really fast. Soltigo, are you here? Pizza on a beagle. I don't really eat beagle. I mean, I guess in some places. I'm not sure about that variety of dog. Alright, it's, you know, animal lovers are gonna freak out now. E takes d4. It's a Skaveningen. A Scandinavian. Actually, Skaveningen might be a Scandinavian word, right? It's like, it's a village in the Netherlands. Is that right? Alright. Now he played c3, turning it into some kind of weird Smith-Morra. But I haven't... Well, it's not a Smith-Morra. I mean, I'm actually... He's like playing the Sicilian and sacking a pawn. That's crazy, man. Not enough compensation. Beagle's like Snoopy. Beagles are delicious. Ugh. That would make me a vegetarian, man. Alright. We just take another pawn. Doesn't matter at this point. Screw it. Knight f6, e4, and then I guess d6. Not really buying into this. My position is so compact, I just don't think that white can have compensation for his pawns. But anything can happen in a practical game. I like knight h3. Not obstructing your bishop on g2. But this is really unsound stuff, man. A Danish gambit with a fianchetto. Exactly. That's where it's at, man. The fianchetto Danish. The good thing about being up, how many pawns am I up? 2 pawns? Is that I can always give one back, you know, and then just still be completely winning. So we have money to burn, basically. No, but this one time I almost made a GM norm. I've told the story before, how the only stupid game I lost was to this guy who did the Smith-Morra with like bishop c4 instead of knight takes c3, and I could have taken the second pawn on b2. But I think I didn't. You know, instead of taking the second pawn on b2, I just like, oh, I'll just transpose back into the main line, you know. But probably I should have taken the second pawn. I mean, nobody plays the Smith-Morra with bishop c4 instead of knight takes c3. Well, there's a reason for that, you know. It's just not really good, and I should have taken the second pawn. That ends up being the only Smith-Morra I ever lost in a tournament game. I mean, I faced the Smith-Morra probably like 6 or 7 times. Queen b3 is a really good move. That's awkward. It's now suddenly hard for me to develop. or not. We got to try to use our tactical prowess to find solutions to negate this threat. So queen takes b7 is rook b8. Very deep stuff. Okay, where are you going? As I said, I could give a pawn back at some point. I can't afford to just drop my b7 and lose my whole structure there. He does have pretty active pieces. Pizzas. Active pizzas. Well, I'm getting a little bit nervous about this. Knight h5, bishop e6, followed by f6. Because knight h5, knight e5, f4 looks kind of nasty, and I'm not liking that. If I was playing a computer, I'm sure I could manage to lose this. I've also got a good chance to beat him on time. Just trade down stuff. Yeah, I mean that's great. That's the whole plan, but unfortunately it's not that easy after knight h5. Last move I could have played bishop f6, but I'd leave my b7 pawn hanging, and then my whole structure falls apart. After bishop f6, bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, white's just fine. Queen takes b7. Unclear. I've given a pawn back and my whole structure's falling apart. Now he has this knight h5. I mean, I don't see any other move. Knight d5 is okay, but I have bishop e6 there. Maybe he can try to pressurize h7. That might actually be good. What happened? Oh, that's an extreme example of pressurizing h7. I didn't mean like that, you know? Crazy, dude. No. I mean, it's very creative, but I've got bishop g5. Bishop g5 or g6. Saltigo got carried away, which he usually does. As I said, like 99 out of 100 combinations don't work. This is not an exception. Too much. You just gave me too much. Saltigo likes to play cool combinations and sacrifices, but you have to remember that there's a limit to what you can do. He's reached the limit. But at least it makes me look redeemed after a couple of draws and some not so impressive games today. I want to look at the position when you're 2 pawns down and see how much compensation you have here, because I think you have some. You know, I think it's pretty interesting actually. Well, he spoiled an interesting position here. He's got almost full compensation for 2 pawns. That's pretty amazing. I mean, I know what I was supposed to do last move. The engine likes rook b, knight e5. That's a weird move. But I don't think my move's any worse, really. No, I expected here. I was going to play bishop e6. And now after queen c3, f6. After that, it looks like you're actually better. Wow. So, man, I mean, this is a case of Soltico getting carried away. You know, you've got a really cool game. Even this move, same thing. You have massive pressure for the two pawns. Your pieces are very well coordinated, but you just can't expect to win by brute force. After this kind of positional pawn sacrifice, you have to just kind of grow your advantage gradually. I'm going to play Arsenal Fan and Ayesta, and then the rest of the challengers. But bishop takes h7 is just craziness. You gotta tame your instincts down a little bit there. Man, it's 11 o'clock. I feel like I've been playing for 3 hours. It's always hard. On Sundays I do a simul, and it takes a lot out of me. I'm also recovering from an illness. I was suffering with this horrible cold for like 2 weeks. I'm almost better now. Alright, Arsenal Fan plays c4. Let's play the King's Indian. Usually I've been playing like e6 and setups with e6, but it's getting a little bit old. I don't know. I haven't been studying my King's Indian theory, and I lost a really bad game in my last tournament when I was unexpectedly forced to play the King's Indian with black. This is an extremely subtle variation for white. h3 and bishop e3. I mean, the few times that I tried to play this type of line with h3, I lost when I was white against experienced King's Indian players. Although it's possible to play in a very primitive attacking fashion, I think there are just tons of subtleties in these type of lines, because you don't always like castle in a traditional way. Sometimes you leave your king in the center, sometimes you castle queenside. I think there's just a lot of knowledge you need to have. But I don't remember. There were some very sensitive move orders I looked at the last time I studied this. And I can't remember like if I'm supposed to play knight a6 first. But I don't think he's supposed to do g4 there. Once I get my knight to f4, black should have really good compensation. For sacrificed pawn. Yeah, Apathotos, are those simuls hard because of the 1500s? I mean, everybody's strong in my simuls. My stream attracts players who are more advanced. Like, I think the average of you guys I said earlier today was like 1900, 2000, and I mean, I'm not like a 2600, you know, I'm a 2400-ish I am, and it's hard to play 20 very competent players. There are not enough real 1500s to kind of water it down. That's actually my problem. So this bishop is basically worth 4 pawns. It's what we call the Jolly Joker. So in general, when you play this Makhagana variation, you don't want white to be able to play knight f4 in that kind of situation, because this is a sacrifice that I'm always willing to make. I mean, maybe in an endgame, that extra pawn might have some significance, but in the middle game, my bishop is just too strong. It's like overwhelming. I'm not sure if king h8 is a good move. But I'm threatening to rip him apart with f5. Probably king h8 is unnecessary prophylaxis. Let's see. But even in the endgame, I'm going to have compensation. Even if he trades queens. $1,500 in bullet. But he's mostly 1,800. I'm surprised you're not higher rated in bullet, Rich. You should be 1,800 across the board. I don't know why your rating is lower in that one category. You seem pretty fast to me, actually. Now he just ignored my bishop on the long diagonal and the threat of a3. I think that might be a problem. Maybe not. I'm willing to trade queens because my bishop is so strong. Now, having said that, there may be even better ways to avoid trading queens, like queen f7 or something. Queen f6. It might be dangerous for white. As I mentioned going in, I mean, I think that the defining thing about the Makhagana variation is that white has to be a highly skilled expert in knowing how to play the king in these lines, because you're not always traditionally castling king side. Sometimes you're castling queen side, sometimes you're leaving a king in the center. Kasparov won one or two really famous games in this line where he did crazy stuff to the white king. Now his dark squares are so weak here. But I think a3 is just too strong. Prying open the diagonal. f3 is probably the last straw. You just can't afford to weaken the dark squares. This guy is already like unopposed. An unopposed monster. I have f4 and bishop takes c3, winning a piece. Just not good to allow the knight f4. Normally they do some weird stuff like g3. Usually h3 and g3, and then the knight is out on h5. It can't go to f4, and there's some really, really weird subtle lines. I remember Dmitry Gurevich playing this variation with white. Queen g1. Not easy for first timers. I lost like the only time I ever played this line, I think. Maybe I played it twice. I played it against Lugi once and lost, and I played it against a friend of mine who was like 2300 and lost with white. But Rich actually used a funny move order. I think the books call this the Larson variation, like bishop e3 straight away. So the Makaganov is h3, but he transposed directly into a normal Makaganov when he did h3 in the next move. You can try to play like without h3, I guess. We're just up a rook now. So, yeah, I would caution people to play this type of line unless you really, really know your stuff. H3, these H3 lines are very, very dangerous, but white has to be expert in them. But I lost to Galiash Miklos last month in the H3 line. I was absolutely not prepared for him to play that. I thought he was going to be playing like a English and if he did play the King's Indian, he'd been playing the fianchetto variation. So I was not at all prepared. And I wish there was a way to checkmate white here. Taking on c5 might actually be a mistake. We have 37 seconds left. Love to play for mate. I guess I'll just take the knight off, you know, with bishop d7 and bishop takes f5 when he tries to go in there, just so he doesn't get any play. We don't want him to have a knight on our side of the board. That's a general principle that I adhere to very religiously. Pieces outposted on my side of the board have to go. This guy has to go. It's a good habit to get into. Plus I'm threatening, you know, to win by mate, which is a nice convenience. But that wasn't the reason why I played the move. It just happens that bishop takes f5 and queen takes f5 is mate. It's pure coincidence. It's not mate. I thought it was mate. That's how good I am at calculating. Alright, never mind. So they're still kicking. Live and kicking lobsters. Go, 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 go. He saw that. We got another rook. Oh, there's no check. There's this. There's still no mate. He's threatening mate in one. It wouldn't be the first time that I blundered some dumb mate in one against Arsenal fan. Just the ability to play that move alone makes me question, how can you be 1300 in bullet? That's how. All right. 14 seconds left. Now you disappointed me. Now you hung your queen after all that. Alright, man. You had one more maiden. You could have played queen d7 or queen c7. Still had mate threats. Alright, Ayeste is a subscriber to the stream. I'm going to take his challenge next. Even if White can maintain the extra pawn, at best he'd be slightly better. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's not, you never ever take that pawn. I mean, well, he's basically in trouble once he allows me to go knight f4. But I wouldn't, I don't know, I wouldn't even want to take and give up my bishop for that. That's his good bishop. Yeah. So if you do play those kind of lines, you just have to prevent knight f4 with like g3. Okay, I've been doing a lot of c4 type of lines here in these variations, but I'm getting kind of bored with it, honestly. So we'll switch up to a more King's Indian attack type of thing, which I used to do in the old days. Ayeste is playing, you know, what is basically the recommended move. This setup with bishop g4 is universally recommended. Accepting the challenge? I'm not making excuses. Oh, accepting the challenge. Oh, sorry. Well, no, I mean, I have to take the subscribers first. I didn't want to leave you. I'd have to leave you out. I mean, Sheppy's not a subscriber, so he wouldn't have been my next challenge anyway. I mean, I would have been playing Ayeste, and then, you know, you would have been next after that. Sorry. He takes right away. Pawn takes. We could play it like a Trompowsky with pawn takes. I usually keep the structure though. I mean, I know the engine likes this a lot of times. I had a game like this this May against a young Indian player. I was slightly better with White, but it was a draw. He did the same thing. He just like gave up his bishop unprovoked on f3, and the computer wanted me to take with the e pawn. The a5 knight a3 setup. No, I mean, you're playing a totally booked position. You just need to know a few subtleties. Like, you're supposed to play g3, I think. So when I got paired with Galyash in the round robin, and he ended up like playing that variation, I was stunned. Like, I haven't looked at those lines in a long time, and in like a year at least, and even then it was superficially. So I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? And like I made up this like really strange artificial setup, got a bad position, used a lot of time, and then by the time I got myself out of trouble, it was like I was in such bad time pressure that I blundered anyway. I'm just using too much time in the openings of my tournament games. That's very bad. Here, e3. It's kind of like a Karpov-Trompowsky system. Karpov plays knight f6 and e6 against the Trompowsky. It's kind of like we did that with colors reversed. But it's a dumb move, probably. I should just play like e4. Objectively, though, that always leads to a very fixed pawn structure, which I've kind of struggled with. So, in practice, I've been trying this, but now that I think back, and we've played 80 games with Ayeste, and I've probably done this before. He's also like moving instantaneously. We're going to try to work the white squares because we have a white squared bishop. Not all that different from last game, in a sense. Last game I argued my bishop was worth 4 pawns, okay? That's not the case here. Why can't I highlight these squares? It's not the case here, you know? he doesn't have that many weaknesses on that color complex. I mean, c6 was his like first move, right? Or d5 and c6. He's basically been playing against my fianchetto bishop from the outset. Now he's giving up his center pawn, which I find suspicious. In principle, this move is wrong. And I've got an impulsive move by black. I've got a little bit of a concern about some knight c5, but I can play rook to d1. So there's knight takes. I could even play knight a3. I could also recapture with the b pawn. And I think that white would have a problem maybe with knight c5 and then d4 and then knight e6. But I don't know. I mean, it's one thing when you have a pawn on d5 and you exchange it on e4 and you create a symmetrical pawn structure. That's usually good for black. But it's a different thing when you exchange it on c4 and you're taking away from the center. And now I have an increased central majority or central preponderance of pawns. I traded a wing pawn for a central pawn, essentially. These central pawns are, you know, they're still back, but they have a lot of potential. I mean, yeah, I could even play knight d2. If b5, which is awful positionally, by the way, I could play even like knight d2, knight c5, d4, you know, and probably be at least equal. I was actually looking at b5, knight a3, threatening knight takes b5, and knight c5, rook d1, or actually playing knight a3, knight b1, as strange as that is. Alpha 0? No, I never talk about Alpha 0. Not enough information. Bishop f8. What about my rooks? Anyway, that's always the issue. Having d3 protected, for one thing. Okay, so black is still solid here, but he doesn't really have a lot to do. My bishop's on the long diagonals. You know, we can expand in the center with like d4. I can do a minority attack on the queen side with b4, b5 maybe. So we have like structurally based strategies. Black doesn't really have them. I mean, he can try to play like what, a5? I mean, f5, f4, weakening his white squares. This move is, I mean, this move is positionally bankrupt. Before I almost had to do knight a3, but now I can probably do knight d2. And look at that pawn. Okay, there's some technical problems, but still. Okay, I mean, I expected knight c5. Maybe this isn't so bad for black, but he does have a lot of weaknesses. Now a4 makes sense. But he could lock it with, he could lock the position with b4 if a4. And a4 also weakens my b4 square if a knight would get in there. It's a hedgehog. There's also d4, classic hedgehog break, and b4, another hedgehog break. It's just a hedgehog where our opponent doesn't, he doesn't have a bishop, a white squared bishop. I don't know if this is best. No more b4. We're going to have to outflank him. You know, I don't know. if it was good what I did. May have had better ways to play. Wouldn't be the first time. But it is a good hedgehog. We have an unopposed white squared bishop that's very strong. It's hard for black to really do anything. He just kind of like, he's put up a barbed wire fence on the dark squares, and we just have to kind of climb over it somehow in analogy form. But he doesn't have any dynamism because his bishop is bad. He has no white squared bishop. So all he can do is just kind of hold that barbed wire fence on the dark squares, and then there's nothing else he can do. It's a very one-dimensional situation here for black. Much more stagnant, much less dynamic possibilities. I can do like pawn breaks. I can try to open the A file. I can maybe do hedgehog, hippo stuff with like H3, G4, maybe knight F1, knight G3. So I could play on both flanks as well. This is a classic move actually. That's a pretty nice move. Knight B8. But I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough. It's a nice move though. I gotta give him credit. Excellent move. Knight B8 was played against me by Igor Polivodyan, this a very strong Russian IM in 1991. In a reti where I had a backward pawn. It's an absolutely classic idea. And then here, I have two ways to play. We can take with the pawn and go for the D5 square. Or we can take with the bishop, which looks more fluid. Yeah, it's a tough call. I don't know. White's slightly better in either case, but it's still not that easy. Now it looks like an accelerated dragon. It looks like I played the Marazzi with colors reversed. He's starting F5, obviously. It's kind of annoying. Although F5 is going to be extremely risky for him, weakening his king side. Maybe I do G4 and then Queen E6, H3. Time is the issue here. It would have been simpler to play the other way. Where's he going? I don't know. I'm not worried about the knight on D5. But maybe he has some plans. Now I'm regretting my queen being on B1 actually. I got to get it back over here to the white squares on the king side. Maybe E2, guarding the white squares. I don't know what, A5, just randomly taking space. Something like that. Not really sure what's going on. But I have some plans to play on the king side now. Bishop F3 or Bishop G2. Hippo. I love the hippopotamus formation. This is what it is. Our bishops have more dynamic potential because we can threaten on either color complex. He can never be 100% safe. Never feel 100% safe. It is getting kind of hard to do anything around here. This might even be a blunder. Yeah, he's immediately on it. little bit of jockeying for position. But this move will try to keep some stuff on the board. You could even sack the exchange in some positions. He just freaked out. Okay, he just panicked. I think the position was unclear. A tiny bit better for white or equal. But anyway, really tough game. So I'm going to take the rest of the challenges from the non-subscribers. Camel Culture, what's up, man? Thank you for joining us. Knight b8 is a good move, man. Yeah, the Polivodian. I played a Reti where I had a backward pawn on d3, like a pawn on e4, pawn on d3, and it was just like so classic. Knight b8. I was like, oh man, it's over. This was when I was first like a master. It was 91 or 92. I was like a 2200 player. That game particularly always stuck in my mind, you know, because the Knight b8 was just so turning the position on its head. I had a weakness on d4. It wasn't like this position. It was worse. I mean, I had a backward pawn on d3 and a pawn on e4 and nothing to protect d4. So I mean, in this situation, Knight b8 was just a good way to improve his knight, you know. But in that situation, it was like this crushing sort of move that killed me because I was just pulverized with the backward d file. You know, in this type of hedgehog situation, it's not that bad. I have a pawn on e3 to control d4, so we can live with that. Queen c7 is a strange move. It doesn't do much other than threatening c4 indirectly. There is an interesting idea I never really considered, though, with queen c7. I mean, I know queen b6 and queen a5 are moves in this position, but queen c7. Maybe... Maybe this idea to play queen e5 is actually... The maneuver queen e5, queen h5 makes some sense for black. Play it like that. I could play c5. Well, let's see, like c5, queen e5, knight b3. I'm not sure that's even good for white. I've definitely seen rook b8 before, and a6 is a common mistake, but queen c7 right away. This is new. Totally new variation. b3. b3's gotta be good. Just a simple move. If queen e5 will just play e3, and it's not that different from some other lines with like queen a5. But I wasted a lot of time. Not a good amount of time to use. It was too much. I'm a little slow today. That's way too much time to use in a 5-minute blitz with one move like a minute and a half. I've got to stop tanking like that. Okay, I know it's not like an official game, but I've been making myself do this too often, and it's causing me to lose tournament games. where I just think and think and think. This stupid increment makes me like addicted to time pressure. And I never ever got in time pressure when I was just playing without increments. I mean, I did occasionally, but not on a regular basis. Never, 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 except for once in a while. But no, seriously, I never had a chronic time pressure problem. Someone said knight e4. Knight e4 is complicated. I mean, I could do like knight b5, knight d5. I'm not afraid of knight e4. I know there can only be good things for me there. He could play queen e5. I kind of thought that was the main move. And e6 is another kind of non-threatening move. Worst case scenario, he's playing a Tarrasch type of setup with d5. Now I've played b3, so I almost have to follow up with bishop b2 at some point, but I also have bishop a3 now. The bishop a3 though can get forked with queen a5 ideas. And now I put myself in that unnecessary time pressure, so now I don't have time to think when I need it. I don't know. It's tempting to play bishop a3, but I didn't see anything absolutely concrete. I guess he can play d5 like a pawn sack or something. I probably wouldn't even take it. We'll just play a Tarrasch where he's got his queen on c7 that looks like an itty bit misplaced for a Tarrasch type of structure. Epithetios 1900. The scenes to be are very much like all of our regulars are somewhere between like usually 1800 and like 2100. You mainly suggested knight e4. There was another game earlier today where knight e4 was interesting against Lord Jesus Christ. It's active, but it's not developing. Of course, you've got tactical ideas on the long diagonal, Rich. Yeah, it's absolutely normal. But he's not doing d5, so now he's stuck in a hedgehog type of thing. Or I have knight d5 myself here, but it's probably just like fancy and doesn't even do anything. What is even my threat if I do this fancy like knight d5 sacrifice? To mess up his structure ultimately. Knight d5. But he could just not even take it. Well, no. Knight d5, pawn takes, pawn takes. I guess he could do queen d8 there. At the end of the day, that's not bad. Oh well, we just play it for fun. Good idea. Just randomly do stupid moves for fun. Pawn takes, queen a5, pawn takes c6, pawn takes c6, and then my a2 pawn is hanging. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is all that good for me. Pawn takes, queen a5, pawn takes c6, b takes c6, and black seems to be more or less okay. I should have just played some simple move. I think this probably helps him exchange pieces and free his position. It would be much stronger if black had already played d6. Basically, this is just a fancy move syndrome. Maybe even has some tricky way to win a piece or something, I don't know. If his pawn is on d6, then when I capture on d5, I'm on c6 like 100 times, and I'm going to break through on c6. But here I don't have anything, because this is so well protected. I just don't have any tricks or anything. And there's that move. But this leaves me with a better structure. So, unless I'm missing a tactical. Zwitschenzug. So I think there, he doesn't have to make that exchange. Just queen a5, buying some time, or queen b6 or something. Black should be okay. The queen a5 might encourage me to play a3 and therefore weaken my structure a tiny bit. The B rook on b8, pressurizing b3. B. We're not at the current position. Now he played queen a5, so he kind of lost the tempo. I don't have any sort of tactics, like almost nothing's hanging. He might end up winning a pawn. No, wait. a2. Alright, I'm just going to lose on time, which is always good. Wait a minute. Don't want to drop anything. Alright, whatever. Looks like I might not lose a pawn, but I might lose a pawn. We will see. I've got a check. My bishop's hanging. Got no advantage. Rook d8 was a strong move. Okay, fortunately, so I even have b4 here. Fortunately, we're out of the proverbial woods. But it was kind of touch and go there. I think I missed queen f6, which was extremely strong on the last move. I was surprised by that exchange. That looks like it was a mistake. Epitatos traded rooks too quickly. Now I'm on the 7th with a huge position. Okay, now he's got another idea. I don't know what to do here. Darn. That was an excellent move, a5, I thought, but his follow-up was bad. This might even be a mistake. But he missed a golden opportunity there. I'm still not too happy with the way this went. Looks like we're winning now, though. Leave my king alone. Really nice fighting try by Epthetos. This should really be game over. Yeah, I mean, everything should really win. That's it, finally. 60 moves. Man, 95 was a dumb move. Just basically giving away my advantage. So there is a game with Queen E5, ironically. But B3 may not be my best. So C5 has been recommended by the engine. No, B3, I don't know. B3 looks okay to me. Queen C7 rare. That's not such a bad move. Here I thought, seriously, this looked logical to me. No, then E3. That would have been what I would have done. New idea for black. Anyways, an actual game where Relange was black in a game. French master. I guess he's a GM. So 95. This is just an absolutely stupid move. Played for the sake of being fancy. I should just improve my position. He took with a knight. Okay, the computer recommends something different. And now apparently I mean, I'm looking at ways to trap his queen on A2, but I didn't see anything. I didn't understand, like bishop G2, queen takes A2, bishop C3, why can't he just take on D4? The engine is showing an advantage for white here. I mean, what the heck? I mean, I'm down one pawn, dropping another. I mean, both of these are hanging. How can white be better here? This is not clear. I don't understand this. So I just did this, and now I have nothing. Bishop takes G7, king takes G7, and even bishop C4 might be a mistake. Queen D4 check first. F6. Black is at least equal here. Okay. So we ended up winning in the endgame, but I don't feel like it was really a great game by me. NM Sheppy. D4. What was it Sheppy plays? I guess we had some King's Indians long ago. But I've been playing more of this lately. I did play a King's Indian today, but I've been playing more E6 type of setups. And then the Blumenfeld. We almost never ever get to play this opening. Nobody allows it, basically. Laszlo Ganda played the accepted variation against me. I got a perfectly good position, but lost in time pressure. I'm 1-1 with my comeback to the Blumenfeld. I hadn't played the opening in like 10 years, and I made a video series for thechessworld.com. But so far we've played it in 2 games and won 1 and lost 1 against good players. White has an advantage on the 7th rank, Rich. That's right. It's like a Rubinstein rook endgame. So, yeah, this is the main line. A lot of people don't even know to play that, but it's not the only way White can play. I had this game with White against Josh Friedel. It's all like 30 moves of correspondence chess theory here. This position is going back to the 70s, and nothing has really changed that much. It's just been like refined. But I don't think that it's clear what the best way to play against the Blumenfeld is. Now he played a sort of strange move here, knight to d2. I don't remember if I analyzed this in the video series or not. It may just, I don't know. I mean, you can take on d5, or you can just castle. Or you can take on e4, not in this position. Knight takes d5. Seems like the right move. I probably analyzed this, but I've forgotten now because it's been like 2 months ago that I made the videos. My opponent in that game that you're talking about, Rich, Gonda, is a really good technical player. Yeah, I mean, he always goes for simplicity, and if you can't keep him in complications, you really don't have a lot of winning chances. Yeah, he managed to get it into a technical situation, which would have been holdable if I hadn't been in time pressure. Now I guess I can take with the knight as well here. But taking with the queen develops a piece, so it's kind of hard to argue with that. And generally speaking, this knight on d5 wants to go to b4, f4. The Iranian Grandmaster Gaya Magami is one of the few but very strong experts in this opening with black. Some others have played it successfully, like Volokitin, Nisapianu. I think that Sheppy didn't really know the theory, so he's gone on kind of his own. He's gone on his own tangent here. But he's down a pawn now. Nisapianu would play knight f4, I guess. Our knight is hanging. The knight on b4 is always good too. But I wouldn't say I'm up a pawn necessarily. I still have this unresolved situation with b5, so I mean, I've got to think about my development, make sure everything gets out smooth. Material is not the object here. But I'm threatening g2, so that's not a joke. Nisapianu won a really nice game where he got a knight on f4 against somebody, I don't remember, some Armenian grandmaster, and just like destroyed his king side. But maybe Gonda's right. I mean, maybe the accepted version of the opening is White's best, because these variations, I don't see any problems for black. Now, I don't think I can really hold on to my extra pawn. I mean, I guess I could take on a4 theoretically. But then he has other stuff based on knight c4, so there is no easy answer here. Just castling. castles, bishop b7 type of setup. Just thinking about taking on a4, what that would entail. Maybe it is good, but I mean, he's always going to have some compensation. Taking on a4, knight c4, like nasty dual threats. I'd rather just get myself developed. You know, I'm not going to try to hang on to material here. Takes on b5 now. So now we just focus on development and attack, if we've got any attack. Almost. I guess bishop b7. It's kind of hard to do without that move. Some tricky tactics like b takes a6, knight takes e2, queen takes e2, bishop takes a6. But my bishop is pinned to my rook on a8 at the end of the day. So I might not even be winning any material in that line. Like my rook will hang 8 if I take on a8, if I take on f1. So I might be just better off just recapturing on a6 with my knight, for example, with a good game. g3 is super squishy. I mean, his king side is super squishy after that. It's hard to resist taking the bishop. I don't think I have anything better. And then maybe like rook e8, developing a piece. Then he has knight c4. Then I can just take on b5. Is he threatening b6 though? I'm afraid that everything might get kind of liquidated here. That's the only downside. I mean, not really afraid of losing, but I am afraid of everything getting traded down and not having enough material left to really do anything, which does happen a lot. It actually happens a lot in this opening. It just kind of everything gets traded off. f5 is no good. Pawn takes b5 is okay. He just takes with the queen, and then bishop a6 doesn't win the exchange. It's so annoying. I mean, still, it might be like one of my best moves, though. He might exchange rooks on a8 and then take. It looks approximately equal. I still think the black is a tiny bit better. Really low on time. Oh man, if only... Okay, we could do like bishop a6. And then when he moves his queen, he can go to like a4. That's not so great, is it? All right, anyway, it's here nor there. He's taking on a8. Now I can take on e4 and I win a pawn. Kind of hard to reject that line. I need a reason not to do this, basically. Pawn is pawn. So now we get to a tactical position where I'm up a pawn. I've got several moves, queen b7 or even bishop c6. I guess queen b7 is a little more forcing. So we're on f3. I mean, the b2 pawn could be a weakness as well. So this is pretty much like a typical game for this line. White doesn't play perfectly, and still it's not that easy for black to win, because logical play keeps white in the game. It's only 5 pawns against 4, and my pawns are a little bit weak. I mean, the thing is, these hanging, they're like hanging pawns. They're kind of hard to keep protected with all the open files and whatnot. But isn't that easy for white to find a good move? Okay, queen takes, b takes, or bishop takes b7. Maybe like rook to the 7th. Rook. It's a technical ending where I'm up a pawn. White has some compensation with a rook on the 7th there. He decided not to do that, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he really should have. Bishop d5. Keep our valuable bishop on the board. He's kind of paralyzed. Queen e7 now. I mean, he can play a position like I was talking about a minute ago, but he's basically down a tempo from where he could have been with a rook on the 7th and an ending down a pawn. Black is really compact, though the hanging pawns are not that easy now. Uh-oh. He's looking for threats. Okay, I mean, that knight is not welcome to come to g6. Sorry. It's a slight weakening in my position, but I'm gonna have to accept it, because I do not want a knight on f5 under any circumstances. I mean, his knight leaving the center also leaves this square weak. So we've got knight c6, knight d4 very powerfully. I'm also threatening queen takes b2, just winning outright, I would think. So he's kind of drifting. Rich, I didn't see anything like that. Bishop takes e4, b4. Wow, the last hour went really fast, guys. We have just like 20 minutes left, so I'm basically playing one more game after this one, because the games usually last about 15 minutes or so. I think white is in deep trouble here. I mean, knight d4 is just murderous. Now, once again, he may have queen on the 7th. But it's just a clear pawn down with zero compensation. Plus, I have a really strong minor piece, and everything's guarded. I mean, he really should be lost here. His knight is bad too, and I have threats on the white squares against his king. This is a weakness on b2. That's my next plan, and all my stuff is protected. The rook b8 is like game over. He can't guard the b2 pawn. Oh well, he does have knight d1, but that looks kind of artificial. I can do bishop f3. Just back rank problems. Maybe I have 92 check first, right? And he has a defense. Oh my god. Now he has a threat. What am I doing? I'm about to lose on time. I forgot he's very good at super fast bullet and stuff like that. Now it's unclear. I might not even be winning anymore. Oh well. And this game is extremely hard to play. Uh-oh. Ooh. I mean, I was obviously completely winning before. I don't know if I can win this. Now we both have passed pawns galore here. To find that move with like no time left. I think I'm actually winning. Man, that was brutally tough. All right, man, really tough with no time. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not good at time scrambles, but I managed to win that one. All right, so one last game, guys, for today. This guy's got enough games. We're gonna play him. Koto Matsukami. And Serdev, I'm sorry, we'll play you another time. Last game for today, guys. really blitz scramble. Tomorrow night I'm going to do host a blitz tournament 5-5-0 this week to kind of help myself speed up a little bit, because okay, a3 is interesting. It's a rare move. I guess we can do the same thing. We'll do the Blumenfeld anyway. No, but he won't let me. He played this. All right. Arsenal fan, you did something like this against me once. It's interesting. Why not? A3 is actually a useful move. So now, I don't know. I guess we can transfer to a Sicilian type of position with like b6. Just d5 is a good way to equalize, probably. The e5 gambit type of line with the extra move a3 for white. That would be weird. Bishop c5, another weird move I could play. Maybe this isn't even good. He has knight b5 here. No, I think that's too slow. I don't know about knight b5. He's just neglecting his development. It's interesting though. Maybe it's good. He's played a3 and then that. I mean, it seems kind of weird to be able to do both of those things. Bishop g5, very aggressive move. 1869 in bullet, 1700 in blitz. New opponent. Yeah, bishop e4 is very annoying in a lot of lines, absolutely. I mean, a3 is a definite thing. It's just that it costs a little bit of time, so you have to kind of tone down the aggression that you might be able to use in other positions. You've wasted a tempo, not wasted a tempo, you've used the tempo up on a3. So it restricts white in how aggressively he can treat, you know, these type of positions. Bishop g5 looks pretty much about as aggressive as you could play the position, I think. I mean, I'm going into a hedgehog, and I think that then a3 looks okay. He doesn't have to play bishop g5. It's one setup with like e3 usually, maybe f3. But he has to be careful of his dark squares with the bishop on g5 and f3. If I trade the dark square bishops later, he could have weaknesses on the dark squares. I don't think he really wants to trade the dark square bishop if he plays f3. That's an important concept. Yeah, the a3 is interesting. I've probably faced it in blitz on a couple of occasions. And I'm sure if you looked it up, you'd find that some strong players who played it on occasion. I'm certain that it gives black equality. If black plays the best move, like I should probably theoretically play d5 here. You know, this is probably like equalizing, but not a very exciting position. Not what I want to get against the lower rated player. Anyway, guys, Blitz tournament tomorrow night here on lichess 5-0. And I'll be back. That will be 7 p.m. tomorrow night here on lichess and Twitch. Thanks, Soltigo, in advance for moderating today. Now I can play h6 and try to win a pawn, but I've seen these gambits played before. I mean, he might be able to sacrifice that pawn and get legitimate compensation, so I'm not going to go there. I think d6 and we just play a hedgehog. Queen a4 check is nothing here. Actually, this position without a3 would probably be theory. That's possibly a known pawn sacrifice. I don't think that white should give up the bishop on f6. If I were to play h6, they should just play like bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, knight takes e4, and sack a pawn. You know, most computers would probably have taken him up on it. but I'm not a computer, and I don't like to lose the initiative. This looks like it's almost a transposition to a Paulson Sicilian, but he's played A3, and it's not really relevant anymore in this position. So super fast. 1500 is his what? What's that? His rapid rating that he doesn't have one? He's classical 1700, 1800 bullet, 1700. I meant 1700 blitz, a B4. I mean, this is not a typical Marazzi, you know, with your bishop on G5. So, I mean, to me, if I were playing white, I'd be like a little reticent to play B4. I think you might be overreaching on both sides. He wants to just simply keep my pieces off of C5, I guess. But he's got to watch out for this pawn just falling sometimes. And just the backwardness, general backwardness on the C file can be unpleasant. You know, we're always looking for tactics, but there's very rarely a tactic with the discovery here. I'm not even going to bother to look for one. I'm not going to waste my time even calculating knight takes e4 or that sort of nonsense. Rook c7 is sort of interesting. But I mean, rook e8 is a typical hedgehog move too. Maybe that's better to get my pieces developed. I have knight e5, training on his pawn on c4. But I'm not sure that he can't just protect it. I'll just play a standard kind of hedgehog setup, I guess. Queen c7, queen b8, and then we're sometimes going to a8 with the queen. It's basically a Sicilian Paulson, which we've had a few players, Liberian, who I haven't seen on my stream for a while, would frequently play this type of setup with black against me. Now knight e5 weakens my b6 pawn. Maybe it's just like a basic standard. That bishop back to d8 is an idea in the hedgehog. Standard hedgehog. It's harder to play white than it is to play black in these type of positions, because you claimed all this space, and then you have to like keep everything together without dropping something. And I'm actually, you know, maybe threatening d5 at some moment, maybe threatening b5 at some moment. He may have dropped the pawn. I'm skeptical. It looks like he did. Which way do I take it, with the bishop or with the knight? I guess with the knight. It's like taking candy from strangers, you know. I am very careful about that type of thing. Is this guy really offering me a pawn for nothing? Queen h5. It's yeah, he's just fishing here. Fishing for. Well, this knight on e4 can't really be supported, so it should come back. The other knight could go to f6, but my b6 pawn becomes weak. I think this is better. He basically dropped a pawn. He wasn't really looking at e4. But you always have to be careful. I mean, think and stop and think about it. Is this guy really giving me a pawn for free? Especially if your opponent is a strong player, then you have to be extra careful. Queen h4 is a good move. Knight e5 drops a pawn. Bishop a8. It defends my b6 pawn a second time, and maybe like I could free my knight to move, I thought, without dropping b6. Probably bishop d8 is another good way to defend the pawn. Maybe even a better way. I want to get his queen off of h4 where it's threatening me, and then I can play like knight g6. It's also possible to play g6, but I didn't really like bishop g5 pinning me. And now also bishop d8, as I said, is good. I mean, anyway, this transfer is totally standard in these lines. I think, yeah, Jesse Cry tried to do this against me once, to wedge something on b5. Now the position is going to get pretty weird. He's actually letting me have all sorts of discoveries on his queen in this position. I mean, that seems kind of strange. Whoa. I guess I should keep my rook on. If I exchange the rook, I'll have less protectors of c6. Man, that was a weird mouse move. He just dropped a knight? No. Or maybe he did. I've got knight e4. I feel like I'm missing something here. He was banking on his queen defending laterally, but he's been leaving this pin there. I mean, the discovery with my bishop on d8 for like 100 moves. I think he just sacked his queen. Very well. Interesting stuff. Pretty heavy deal. Heavy deal. Heavy duty. Sacrifice of 2 pieces for the queen. Whoa. All right. He didn't even like he didn't even think about like pushing c7. He was just insta moving. I think now we're in the clear for the most part. Very strong center and threats against his king with e4. We've got him. Oh, that's a good defensive move. Still hard to free myself. Okay, let's just make principled moves, improving my pieces. Rook's in the center. Try to keep him under pressure. I mean, Queen h6. No back rank mate. Maybe even f5. I wouldn't want to play this guy in bullet chess. I mean, he moves very, very fast. But I mean, objectively, he's down a massive amount of material. I see. Now his knight is pretty much sandwiched out. But I still can't break through immediately. Maybe h5 to open the h file would be something. Although I have f3, don't I? Ooh, f3. Letting his knight back in the game. I'm still not winning. Now h5. Play h5 first. Amazing defense by white. He resigned here. He doesn't see knight f1. Not necessary to resign right away. You're still hanging on after knight f1. I mean, apparently I'm completely winning. I was going to play h5 probably, but you can kick me out. Bishop d2. It's going to take some work, guys. I'm out of here. Stream is over. It's time to go. We're 5 minutes late. I want to thank you guys for watching and playing. We'll be back tomorrow night with a viewer tournament at 7 p.m. Thanks, Soltigo, for watching. Thanks, everybody. Good games. A lot of fun today. And tomorrow night, 7 p.m. here on lichess and Twitch. International Master William Paschall. It'll be a Blitz tournament 5-0. No increment. So prepare to play quickly. That's it. So anyway, guys, have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.